Hello and welcome to JavaScript Fundamentals. My name is Rishi Agrawal, and in this video we are going to talk about some of the basics of JavaScript. What are we going to cover? Variables, data types, objects, arrays, functions, conditional operators, looping constructs, and some of the array methods. So let's get started. This is a code sandbox where we have an index.html file and a corresponding index.ts file where we are going to keep the TypeScript code. And this is the console where we can see the logs. So let's start with variables. In JavaScript, we can declare variables using keywords like const, let, or var. Const, as the name suggests, is a constant where we cannot reassign the value once it's assigned. And in let, we can reassign the variable as many times as we want. Var is an old school way of declaring variables, which we suggest should not be used since const and let will suffice all your requirements. Here we also see that we have used type annotations like number or string for these variables. So what this means is A is a variable of type number and B is a variable of type string. The same can be seen in the console. So let's move on to data types. In JavaScript, we have two types of data types. One is primitive, the other one is non-primitive. So let's start with primitives. We have numbers in JavaScript. We have strings. We have boolean, true or false. We also have a data type undefined in JavaScript. So for example, here we have declared a variable, but we have not initialized any value to it. So JavaScript treats this as undefined. We also have a type null, which we can assign to any variable. And as we can see over here, the value gets printed as null. We also have a type of operator in JavaScript, which returns the data type of the variable. And as we see here, we get object for a null type. So this is a bug in JavaScript and please use it carefully. We also have symbols in JavaScript. This is a syntax of defining symbols and the type of SYM returns symbol. So let's move on to non-primitive data types. So object is a non-primitive data type in JavaScript. So it's basically an entity with keys and values where A and B are the keys and 1 and 2 are the values. Now let's talk about some other objects. Array. We also have arrays in JavaScript. Here 1, 2, 3 are the elements of that array. Basically arrays are also objects in JavaScript. We can declare functions in JavaScript. So this is the syntax of declaring a function. These are called arrow functions since we are using the arrow syntax. And this is the function that we see in the console. And we are passing 2 as the parameter to this function and adding 2 and then returning it. So in the output, we will see 4. So that is what is coming over here. We also have a shorthand syntax for defining functions. As we can see over here, we skipped the return keyword and we can write functions like this as well. So when we get the same output as the previous. Now let's talk about conditional operators. So here we have two variables A and B with values 2 and 3 respectively. And if A is greater than B, then the corresponding value. If else, the corresponding value of B is greater than A with B gets printed in the console. So since in our case B is greater than A, 3 gets printed. Also, we have a ternary operator that we can use. It's a substitute for if and else. So as you can see over here, just imagine this as an if and or if else statement. So if A greater than B, then question mark the if statement colon the else part. So B is greater and 3 gets printed. Now, basically, ternary operator is useful when you want to assign a value to a third variable based on the condition. So as we can see over here, if a greater than b, then a gets assigned to c, else b gets assigned to c. So the greater value that gets assigned to c is 3 in our case. Now let's move on to looping constructs. Just like any other language, we have for loop in JavaScript, and based on the condition, the loop is being run 10 times. As you can see over here, the corresponding indexes are being printed. We also have a while loop in JavaScript. So we have declared a variable a over here, and we want to run the loop until a is greater than 0. So as you can see, a is still greater than 0, and the corresponding value of a gets printed 3 times. Now let's talk about array methods. So as you remember, we spoke about arrays. So now let's talk about map. So map is a method on each and every array, which will call a callback function on each of the element of the array and will return a final array that will contain the results. So now, first of all, what is a callback function? So that's kind of out of scope of this session, but all you need to know is that this function will run on each and every element of this array. And the parameters for this function are item and index, where item is the element of this array and index is the index of that item. So here, as you can see, we are trying to multiply 2 to each and every item of this array. So finally, this will return an array which we store in B, and the final output is 246. As you can see, every item of the element got doubled. We also have a filter function, and the filter property of array will return the elements of an array based on the condition which is specified in the callback function. So this is a callback function, and this is the condition that every element has to satisfy in order to be included in the array. So as you can see, this will return a new array where 2 is missing, since the item 2 gets filtered out based on this condition. Also, we have a slice method, and slice will just return a section of an array. This is the starting index of that section, and this is the ending index, but slice does not include this. So our final ending index will be the 2 minus 1, that is 0 to 1. So we get output from 0 to 1 in this case. So we will get 1 and 2 for this array. So that's all, folks. So please go through the references which I mentioned in the slides, since this is just an overview and this does not cover all the concepts, but this will definitely help you get started, and feel free to take help of track helpers if needed. Thank you.